we have a pool, which
Yeah.
a lot of people don't have here,
Yeah.
or, you know, like
Or
it's
a
like
lot
a
of people
diamond.
want here, you know
They
what I'm
want
saying? You know,
here.
it's like I'm looking for a pool. You know, it's like,
It's
hey, after
hot.
this, I need that hookup.
I
You know
need
what I'm
to-
saying? We'll talk after this. You
You
know,
can come
yeah,
anytime.
all right. That's what hey, you heard it here first, folks. Hi, I'm Josh Owen. As the owner of a video marketing company in New Orleans, I've been on the quest to learn everything I can about marketing. Everyone has a different style, different strategy, and a different experience. Is there a wrong way to do it? A right way to do it? Let's find out together as we make marketing make sense. Hey everybody, welcome to Make Marketing Make Sense. I'm here today with the fabulous Raquel at the Hyatt Regency, the marketing manager, and wonderful to have you on the show. Today we're going to talk about what makes the Hyatt so unique in their marketing strategy. Tell me a little bit about this. I know we've talked about it a lot, but I want to hear it again from your perspective. Like, what is the marketing strategy for the Hyatt? What makes it so unique, and what is your role in all of it?
Yeah. So my background is in marketing agencies. So I feel like coming from the agency world to an in-house experience is definitely something that just takes you a minute to adjust, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way that you think, the way that you prioritize things and strategize things.
Right.
So a couple of things that took me back is that, number one, there's a flexibility to do any and everything. So while that sounds all good and gravy, it actually means that you have to be wildly strategic in where you're spending your dollars. For my property and where we're at in New Orleans, it's a little bit more strategic or a little bit more specific because of the challenges that we have in the city and also in the space that we're competing in.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, everyone thinks hotel and they're just think, oh, it's for transient people, you're coming in for a vacation or whatever reason is bringing
Right.
you to a hotel. But then once you enter the space, you realize, well, actually, there's a whole other world to it, which is group. For most people, that means B2B or whatever. But for us, it's mainly group heavy, which means that the bulk of our business are those meetings and conventions that are taking place when you go for your conference or for meetings or for events. We have very large events at the property as well. So for New Orleans, what that means is that instead of competing for that transient business at that level, because we have 1,200 rooms and we're a massive hotel, we're competing for group business. And I say competing, but really we have a lot of business that we've generated throughout the hotel's history.
I mean, I think that's good. And because what I was going to say is and I think the thing that you're talking about here too is, the Hyatt Regency being so close to the Superdome, it just makes sense, right? Like you're competing for it's all, I guess in the hotel game, it's all about location. And your location speaks to those big events that want to be close to the Superdome, that want to be close to the Smoothie King Center, things like that are going to be, receiving or, whether it's it's closer to the conferences and all that stuff. So it makes sense to have that as well. And you have a large meeting space as well for your own internal conferences as well. But, on the other hand, those things are very seasonal, right? So it's like, what do you do? What do you do when it's, talk to me a little bit about, when it's out of season, like, what are you trying to do to get guests into the hotel?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I was saying, group for us is our bread and butter, but we also have to appeal to the transient side of things. But it is a very specific and strategic game that you play on where you invest those dollars and for what. So a lot of our comp set is closer to the quarter. It's in a more ideal location for people that are coming here for the first time or that are returning people, but, that prefer to be closer to the quarter because that's where all the fun is. But for us, we're a little bit outside of it, but we do have the Superdome, Smoothie King Center in Champion Square in our backyard. So when someone's coming in from out of town, they're coming to stay with us for that game or for their favorite concert or for an event that might be taking place at Champion Square. So yeah, we have to think very strategically in the sense of, okay, we have our competitors, which we want to make sure that we're getting a piece of the pie from in transient, but we know that that's not where our bread and butter is. So how we invest our money and where we invest it is critical because it would be better for you to spend a certain amount in one thing entirely than to spread it throughout various tactics and not see that same return, right? So one thing specifically, advertising on OTAs, what are online travel agencies like Expedia.com, Priceline and all of those is extremely important for us, even though it's not necessarily where we want to be spending our money in, right? So just like any business, you don't want to direct the business to another person or another thing, agency, whatever. You want them to come straight to you. But it's one of those like necessary evils sometimes in these spaces where you have to put the dollar into that because it exists, and that's where a lot of people are going to book rooms and to book vacations. But ideally, you would want them to come to you specifically. So groups is big for us. We get a lot of business from groups, but we still have to appeal to the transient market. We have our strong suits, right? We have those 3 things in our backyard that people can come and stay with us for. But then also, I think the biggest thing to me, thinking from a transient perspective and as a consumer, is that I think our property is in a great location because you're not in the quarter, so you don't have to deal with the noise and the nonsense of the busy city life. But you're right in between that and uptown. So to me, that's more of an ideal location for my age group and what I'm looking to get out of a vacation, is to be like in it, but not too in it. And then, you know, when you get to the specifics of a property and what their offerings are, it's a beautiful hotel. We have amazing cuisine. And I know we'll talk about it later, but the people there that work there really do make all the difference. A lot of the surveys that we have in place that people take and the results that we get back from that are that people just really love our staff. We have some really incredible staff. We're very lucky for that. And I don't know what's going on in there. I don't know if it's like some HR magic or what, but they hire the exact right people. And we all just work together really well. It is really interesting. Because it's not like something, I'm not saying like it's not something that I'm used to, but it's a hotel. It's new to me. In-house is new to me. But it's interesting to see how all these different groups work together for the same cause.
Yeah, I think that's what I think is so interesting is what you're saying. Like you're already starting to formulate some ideas of like, have you taken the step yet to like to implement in your marketing this kind of like idea of, hey, you know, we're not the noisy French Quarter, but we're, you know, a cozy spot away from the French Quarter. Is that something that you've started to do, and have you like seen results from that?
I haven't started that yet, but it's definitely something that's on my mind. So when I came in March, that's, you know, the end of Q1. Things have been going how they have been. The year has already started. So I'm very much, you have to look at what's going on. You have to understand how the organization functions, how the people function, before you can start adjusting things and making ideas, right? We were talking a bit about how you have to be specific and strategic about how you spend your dollars, right? For us, what that means is that we're not doing everything and anything just because we have the funds available. It means that we're not in print, we're not in video. You don't really see Hyatt commercials, or at least specifically not Hyatt Regency New Orleans commercials. But that's for a reason. It's because we generate so much revenue from group that you don't necessarily have to compete or be in that space. So when I came in, I'm thinking, you know, from the agency side, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? Like, to me, it's logical. Like, we should be doing that. But when you're looking at your competitors and you're looking at how much money they're spending in that space, it makes no sense for you to even attempt to compete in that when you know what your strong suits are, like what, like, the specifics of your property are, right? So we're not competing for the French Quarter or in that space. We're a little right outside of it. So you're going to come to us for a very specific reason.
Interesting.
Either business travel for one of the arenas in our backyard, or just because, you know, like maybe you like Hyatt, maybe you have a loyalty to Hyatt as a brand or what have you. So now that I've been in it a few months and I've seen how things have worked and have seen how like ideas that I had wouldn't have fit, you have to learn to adjust really quickly, just like we do in this industry as a whole, right? Things are changing constantly, so you have to keep up with the times and be like nimble, really. So my hope is that in time I will, for sure, because I feel like that's a great selling point. You like, I'm definitely an optimist, right? So like I always look for the silver lining. I always like say like, okay, well, things suck like this or aren't great like this or are negative like this, but what's the positive? It it doesn't do me any good to sit there and think about how we're not in the quarter or how like we're not the first thing that people
Right.
think about. What it does do me good is to think of all of the wonderful things that we have to
Yeah.
offer.
Yeah, exactly.
The stadiums draw out hundreds of people that could sell us out in one
Yeah.
night and one weekend,
Right.
right? So that's a great selling point.
Yeah.
Being in between two of the main parts of New Orleans, the Garden District and downtown, or right in the middle of CBD, like
Yeah.
those are really great selling
Yeah.
points. And you're definitely speaking to a specific type of person
Yeah.
and target audience. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun game to
Yeah.
play to try to see the
Right.
things that do and don't work. So like again, like
Yeah.
agency life, I'm thinking we have to do everything. We have to be
Yeah.
everywhere so that
Right.
people know who we are.
Yeah.
We had talked about I've never seen a Hyatt Regency ad in
Yeah.
my life. Like
Right.
why is that?
Yeah.
You see Hilton, you see Sheraton, you
Right.
see all your competitors. You're like why is that? Why have I
Yeah.
never seen that? But since I've come in, we've started paid search, we've
Nice.
started paid social. We have
Yeah.
started these things to start gaining awareness, but those
Yeah.
are like very small brand awareness
mhm,
campaigns. We're not likely,
Yeah.
or at least we're not thinking, we're not
Right.
spending that money thinking we're going to we're not going to book 1,000 room
Right.
nights
Yeah.
from a $2,000
Right.
campaign. But the point is to get our name out there against our competitors, because if you don't see us,
At all. Right. Yeah.
then how would you know?
Because that's what I was going to ask about is like, because curiously enough, like, like you're saying, like, I think that's the thing that's so interesting to me is you've been mentioning like, hey, we make a lot of money off of all of these bookings from, these big events, and like that sells us out and we can make a lot of money. But like at the same time, that's not all the time, like you're
Yeah,
saying, like
no.
Q2, Q3, summertime, like those things aren't really happening. So it's like, what do you do in that time period? Do you just sit on your laurels, or are you like,
Right.
what do you do, especially now that we're in the midst of it? Like, what have you been doing? And like, especially what have you noticed, especially through this year of doing it, like what you're going to try and transition and do for the next year?
Yeah. So we're already thinking about next year, and when we're doing things and learning from them, we're jotting those notes down and saying, okay, let's do this, but let's do it better next year. So you're right. Right now, it's a lot of trial and error because someone hasn't been in that position for a long time, and I'm new to the space.
Yeah.
But there's so many resources and so many knowledgeable and experienced people that I can reach out to. So it's helpful, right? You're taking the insight from revenue and reservations and the front desk and operations and all these different departments to make a strategic decision. It's not just me because I have that background. It's these people that know this business, that know hospitality, that know our city and our challenges and our strong suits and all of that. So for instance, one thing that our general manager wanted us to do a really big push for was for Pride. We have an entire chapter of our business that is dedicated to supporting LGBTQ plus members.
Yeah.
So we participate in the New Orleans Pride Parade, and we actually have an event at our hotel that we throw for free.
Oh, really? Wow.
It's a Pride prom.
Okay.
So we had that in
Wow.
June. So there's a lot of things
Yeah.
that Hyatt's doing and that is a part of or supports in one way or another. That a lot of people don't know about, that a lot of people would never know.
Yeah.
So we really have to do our due diligence to be out there and to just make people aware.
Yeah.
So I think for us next year, Pride's going to be an even bigger push. We have a Pride package that we put together for that. So there's just like different things that we can be doing so that we can be supportive and really show our allyship in that space.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, we know that we're slower in transient in Q2, Q3.
Yeah.
We know it's super hot in New Orleans.
Right.
What can you do?
Yeah.
I can sit here and I can provide creative ideas or activations that I hope we can do, which I have.
Yeah.
Because we know how just unpredictable things can be in this space. If you do one thing right, the amount of business or awareness or brand loyalty you can start to develop from that campaign or that ad is invaluable, right? So I think I had mentioned that before, where it's like we keep doing what we're doing, right? We keep doing what we're good at. We keep sticking to the basics, which is another thing that I had mentioned. We're in digital.
Yeah.
We're investing into the OTAs, which
Right.
are really big for us, and then a substantial portion of
Yeah.
our budget goes into Cvent, which is the
Mhm. Mhm.
is like where everyone gets their RFPs
Yeah.
for sales for groups.
Mhm.
Um, but you do what you keep doing. You
Mhm.
try to think of new things.
Yeah.
You keep up with the trends that you
Mhm.
see and little things that you can do. Um, and it's really adjusting budgets,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Because you think
Hopefully,
that you're like digital wise, like you think that like you like that's starting to pay off for your budget when you say budget, like your digital is like seeing itself return an investment.
absolutely.
Mm.
Our digital does better than,
Oh, really?
but we're not really doing much of anything else. We're not doing
Wow.
video or print or anything like that. So digital is key for us for
Yeah.
sure. And that's display, paid social, paid search,
Yeah.
and the OTAs,
Yeah.
really.
Oh, wow.
But like I had mentioned before, our corporate
Mhm.
puts their own campaigns together, right? So one that they did this summer was called Gems of the South, where they just
Mm.
develop a campaign, they put money behind it to
Yeah.
support us, and then they feature certain properties.
Oh,
So they
wow.
featured
Okay.
us, they featured Savannah and
Interesting.
Atlanta, I think, and
That's
another
cool.
property.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of support
Yeah.
from them too, because you may not know
Yeah.
Hyatt Regency New
Right.
Orleans, but a lot of people know Hyatt. They
Yeah.
understand that
Yeah.
that's a,
Right.
a, a hotel that
Yeah.
exists and a brand that exists. So we do get a lot of
Yeah.
support corporate wise.
Yeah.
But another thing, small thing, right? Like we do digital. We have our
Mhm.
group. We have Cvent and the
Mhm.
OTAs and all that. But if we're doing things on the property, I
Yeah.
think that's another thing that's like super
Yeah.
special or unique that we can highlight,
Mhm.
right? We have a pool, which a
Yeah.
lot of people don't have here, or
Yeah.
like
Or
it's
a
like
lot
a
of people
diamond.
want here, you know
They
what I'm
want
saying? You know,
here.
it's like I'm looking for a pool. You know, it's like,
It's
hey, after
hot.
this, I need that hookup.
I
You know
need
what I'm
to-
saying? We'll talk after this. You
You
know,
can come
yeah,
anytime.
all right, that's what Hey, you heard it here first, folks. You know, can't take that back.
You can come
you know?
anytime. But, we have a pool, so
Yeah.
that's a unique selling point.
Yeah.
We actually have a really great food
Yeah.
and beverage offering. We just got a new executive chef that's from Puerto Rico that's going to come in and jazz
okay.
up a few things,
I love
start a few
that.
things.
Yeah.
Like amazing
Yeah.
plans. This summer we have a rum promotion all summer that we're working with this local rum distillery
Yeah.
called Oxbow Rum. And we created a menu utilizing
Wow.
the rum. We
That's
did
wild.
11 drinks, a
Wow.
burger, a dessert that
Oh
all
my God.
incorporate the different rums.
Wow.
And it's really great.
Yeah.
It's actually, I feel like
God
everyone
dang.
feels that way about their own product.
Okay. Well, all right. We got some fancy things happening, Well, before I even, because the last thing I wanted to really touch on here is, obviously, we talked a little about the future, but I'm curious about, also the past. And what I mean by that is, you've done this job for, you're still fairly new, but you've done it for a long enough time now where it's like, if you were to talk to the Raquel that just started out, what advice would you give to the Raquel about her specifically about marketing? Like, what would you say marketing wise? Like, hey, like this is my advice marketing to past Raquel. Like, this is what I would tell her.
Yeah. So like I had mentioned, I think I have the right approach every time where it's like you're new. You have to understand how the organization works, what all the departments do and are responsible for. So I'm very much like observe and then provide updates, changes, feedback on things that you should be doing, could be doing, or could do better. And I feel like I did that, but I think for sure I could have like maintained that a little longer instead of saying like, well, why are we doing this and why are we doing that? Because the answers are very simple, but I'm sitting there spinning my wheels about it and thinking, oh, we should do this and we can, put this amazing video campaign together or whatever. But it's so funny. My director does this to me every single time. He'll explain things so clearly and to say why we're not competing in that space, why we're not investing dollars in this thing, or why we wouldn't spend our time there.
Yeah.
And it really just is because it's not worth the revenue or the investment or the time even. I'm one person. I'm supporting a 1,200 room hotel. It is massive.
Yeah.
I do not have the time to do every and any little thing. So focusing, I think I had mentioned too, focusing on the basics, make sure that what you have currently is great, is locked in. your listings, your business listings, your advertising, the creative that's there, the copy that's there. Like, make sure that what you currently have is running the way that it's meant to, and that it's generating what you want it to.
Yeah.
If it's not meeting your KPIs, then adjustments have to be made,
Yeah.
right? That's
100%.
a forever thing.
Yeah.
You evaluate on a monthly, quarterly basis so that you can determine, okay, is this doing what it's supposed to? Are we meeting our return on ad spend and all that? And if not, then change.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's just who I am. I'm like a stick to the basics, keep it simple kind of gal, because it works, right? You don't always have to do the flashy thing or the wild and risky thing.
Right.
Although I would say that a little bit of that is also healthy, because you see it succeed, right?
Yeah.
In the same way that you see it fail, and God bless any company that's ever been through something like that. You know, these massive PR, just issues, incidents, what have you. Like, you're just like, holy crap, how did somebody jack that up so badly, or who made that decision, or who approved that? So, you know, whatever your risk tolerance is, you go for that. But doing the basics, doing it well, like, again, highlighting your strong suits, and not trying to be something that you're not. You know, I don't need to sit here and say, like, I'm in the French Quarter, come see me, we're right there, we're in the middle of it all. No, I'm in the backyard of or in our backyard we have a lot of great things that the people are already going to come and see. If you want to level up your experience or have an elevated experience, come stay with us. Come try our delicious foods, our cuisines. We have like 7-8 different offerings, as far as dining options are. A couple of stores, a pool, a fitness center. Like, we have things that people want and can enjoy. And all of that coupled with an amazing staff, you know.
Just layer it all in.
It speaks for itself.
Yeah. No, I mean, you know it well, and I think that's the best way to say it is, you know yourself well and expand from there. Yeah. And I think that's what you're doing. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
That's like a thing in the Marine Corps. I was in the Marine Corps, and so they always say, like, one of our, I don't remember what they call it now, but they say know yourself and seek self-improvement. So, yeah, I think that's fitting.
Hey, that's how we do it. We know ourselves and we seek self-improvement. That's what we're here about. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Raquel.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I feel like, you know, I'm like, my head's like expanding by all the like knowledge of Hyatt here. I got to like get more room in here. So so thank you so much. And where can we find Hyatt and you on social and online?
Yeah, so you can visit us on Instagram at Hyatt New Orleans, and then on Facebook, Hyatt Regency New Orleans.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been another great episode of Make Marketing Make Sense, and we'll see you guys on the next one. This has been Make Marketing Make Sense, brought to you by Comfystone. If you need video content for social media, your website, or email marketing, hit up Comfystone at comfystone.com and follow Comfystone on Instagram and TikTok. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.